All right, this will be an interesting one. Tonight we've got Alex Polinsky here, and he's the creator and founder of Avatarism.net, and I think he's involved with Happy Spaceship at all. We'll have to ask him about that. He's a third-generation actor. He's been in some films and TV commercials and shows and shit like that, and he's written some music, and he's produced a movie. Like, he's into all kinds of stuff. So, yeah, it's good to have you here. Thanks for coming on the show.
Hey, guys. Hey, Grimerica. What's up, dudes?
We are the Canadian guys with the American-sounding podcast name.
Usually we get, what is it, not Bill and Ted, the other two fucking guys.
Yeah.
Rick and
Who?
Bobby. No, I can't
Bob and Doug
remember.
McKenzie.
Bob and Doug.
Oh, yeah, that's old school.
Yeah, that's totally old school.
Yeah, the kids won't know who the fuck that is.
No, Darren doesn't even know who that is.
I don't hardly know who the fuck that is, but I remember like those fuzzy muff hats, I think, and beer. And
Tukes,
beers.
they're called Tukes.
And some beers. You guys really sound Canadian. It's awesome. Very, very, very exotic.
Oh, yeah, very exotic. I know I sound like a stoner, and I don't even partake, and I try not to sound like one, but it just doesn't even work.
You can make money off that, in voiceover.
Yeah, I don't know. It's not. That's you do the bit of voiceover.
I should get into voiceover. You think I could make any money in voiceover?
Yeah, I've been doing voiceover for the last 20 years or so. Teen Titans, Ben 10, Minions, Krampus.
Oh my god!
Right now, I'm in a great show on Amazon called Lost in Oz. It's like a modern-ish remake of The Wizard of Oz. Great on Amazon Prime if you guys got it. Binge it.
Wow.
Your logo is super. I don't know. It seems like
the logo for what? Avatarism.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, the Avatarism is this game philosophy, weird, awesome thing I kind of been working on for my whole life, sparked by a conversation that I had with Jim Henson years ago.
Wow.
When I was a kid. I got to meet him when I was 7, and he told me this really cool thing. I'll tell you later on in the podcast, or maybe we'll save that for another one. But yeah, I had this crazy idea about creating characters. The Muppets really turned me on, and superheroes really turned me on. I'd leave a superhero movie all crazy and feeling like I was Spider-Man or Batman for days. And I wondered, what is this? What is this? Drugs, and I'd never tried drugs before, but it was the closest thing to a psychedelic experience. I think that's true for a lot of people. They leave these intense entertainments like video games, and they kind of it's like, whoa, what the hell happened? That was 12 hours, but that was 3 hours of the most intense action. Or whether it's you read a book, or yes, there's somebody from history who is like an avatar to you, whatever it is. Or maybe it's that you have this mixture of characters and mythologies inside you, kind of a Joseph Campbell, hero with 1,000 faces kind of thing. And I thought, wouldn't it be cool if we all created our characters like we do D&D characters or characters like RPGs, and then we kind of turned inwards and we're like, let's fucking make that a game and up level in actual real world ways and kind of uphold each other. And then through that, we all kind of create our own self-created self-help, so we don't fall prey to stupid cults or religions that don't mean anything anymore. And what we really want to do is play games, all of us. So I just decided, hey, fuck it, let's do this thing. And I started researching. It was crazy. I found out that there are still places in the world where avatarism is the thing. Like in Nepal, they make a little girl a living goddess from the time she's 2 years old to the time she's 13 years old, and then the shit wears off. She go to the mall and be a real kid. But during that time, her feet can't touch the floor. She has all her meals brought to her, and everybody in the town comes and prays to her. Right? It's crazy. And so you see, and then she goes back to being a real person. So you're like, what is going on? How do we as human beings keep creating this celebrities or part-time gods or our cult leaders or what is this? Why are actors paid the most out of anybody when all they're doing is trying to act normal, right? Or try to act super normal, superhuman. And that's what we all want to see, and that's what we all want to be. So I said, fuck it, let's take the power away from the movies and away from the religions and the cults and give each one of us the power to make a personally created mythology, completely unique, doesn't allow for anyone to be the centralized cult leader, because everybody's the cult leader of their own shit.
Yeah, that's interesting. I was thinking about you coming on the show, and I was thinking back to I was reading your blog and your your avatar character sheet and all, and it brought me back to I was a D&D guy. We used to play Dungeons and Dragons, and we you were just talking about being swept away in that, you know, like we used to play all night and we'd be excited to play and we'd be into these characters and into these scenes. And like, and that was a way that we sort of like, it was a healthy way for us to totally use our imagination and even like skills and stuff and, you know, writing and creativity and all that kind of stuff. And in this, and, you know, and we had these avatars. And then what I think you've done with that is take it to like more of an adult thing where you can actually use it as a spiritual growth or like personal development tool.
Yeah, nobody wants to be bored and depressed and like get sad by doing self-help. They're trying to up level. I think self-help is one of the most boring, scary phrases ever. They just get rid of it. Like, I want to up level. I want to play. I want to pray on my feet. I want to become a warrior, poet, Muppet, Jedi. Listen, they just let servicemen in the U.S. start putting the hammer of Thor on their gravestones. And that's a huge thing because before Thor was said to be a mythological character in the eyes of the U.S. Military. And so he wasn't eligible to be on the gravestones of service people. But now they allow the hammer of Thor because so many service people were saying, hey, you know, who's my God? It's not this one. It's not that one. It's the God of War. It's Thor. Wow. And we wanted to honor them for their personal fucking mythology. And I think finally, you know, even with all the crazy stuff that's happening and that our trans brothers and sisters are coming out and being like, we're actually here. This is a thing. And like, okay, so what's the next step? Is like honoring people for like, you're a fucking Jedi. I want the Rebel Alliance insignia on my gravestone if I'm a service person, because I've more than anything, I've identified with Star Wars my whole life. And more than anything, that is my spirituality. Nothing else fits more than that. And I think going into the future, like, we should be able to honor people for whatever they are. You know, my grandmother, when she was dying, said, where am I going? And we said, we don't know. Where do you think? And she said, I think I'm going to see the fairies. And I agreed with her. And I said, no, nobody's going to take that away from you. You know, if you believe in the fairies, you're going to the fairies. And I sincerely believe she's with them. And I hope she is. And I hope, hey, I can go there too. It sounds like fun. And we can do that. I just want to be one of those shining lights in the dark saying, hey, it's all make-believe. Let's honor people for their personal mythology, finally. God damn.
Yeah, why not? Yeah, instead of pigeonhole them into some sort of category they don't want to be in, like let them out.
Pursuit of happiness, bitches. Pursuit of happiness, bitches. Let's do it. This makes people happy. Let's just do it.
So how do you help people? How do you help people, like, if you go through this character sheet and this development, like, how do you figure out, like, because I've, like, let's say, I mean, let's use I'm going to be a little bit vulnerable here, but let's talk about going to festivals, for example, and you know, and everybody's all dressed all this crazy shit, and like, let's say for somebody me a little bit older, but I still like the music, I still like to go to a festival. What do I do? Like, how do I feel uncomfortable? Like, how do I create an avatar for myself where I go there and I'm like in comfort and confident and in that, where, you know what I mean, where like it fits me and I'm not trying to be somebody else, or I'm not trying to pretend, or I'm not trying to just fit in or not fit in, or whatever the case may be for that.
Oh man, I love going to festivals. I feel like my second home is at festivals because we're all locked in these little homes and apartments and things in our real life, and then we go to an outdoor event, or we go to a multi-day festival or a camping festival or a psychedelic festival, you know, one of these things, Burning Man out here in the West Coast, you know, lightning in a bottle. You guys probably have your own. And what you see is this amazing freedom of action. You know, your people are embodying things that maybe they haven't ever embodied before. Maybe they're going without so many clothes, you know, maybe they're going in strange costumes, maybe they're wearing some makeup, maybe they're just wearing a t-shirt, you know, that's a little bit more, you know, funny or you know, just something a little strange that they normally wouldn't do. And so how I like to look at it is, okay, look, if you are doing your avatarism, if you're trying to come up with your character, whatever that is, or whatever grouping or, you know, mishmash, you know, of characters it is, fine. You're out there. You're gonna be accepted for whatever you try to embody. It might be a little bit uncomfortable, but that's what I think we should look for. And I've learned through the years working with people in avatarism is that if you look for the thing that makes you excited and uncomfortable, both of them together. So if you see the outfit in being sold in the thing, and maybe it's a little expensive or whatever, just weigh the outcome. Like, if you put it on, you know, and it makes you feel awesome, you know, it's worth it. Okay, you might spend a little money, but you're going to have one of these things. You don't only need one costume for a while. And I know there's a lot of like festival ego with these people, and you see them, and it looks like you couldn't possibly look that good. But Avatarism is a great way to come into that, because look, you can download the character sheet at avatarism.net. It's a free PDF. We're working on a really awesome book and a kind of a more detailed way of expressing it. But here's the answer to that problem that you told me, is that you don't want to be well, let's just say you don't want to feel inauthentic, because everything's fucking inauthentic until you do it for a little while, right? Everything's, it's only kinky the first time. And so what we find is if we can push ourselves just to try it, something magical happens. We get out of our comfort zone, and the avatarism of the outfit takes over. You've ever worn like a really incredible costume in Halloween, you feel different. Or like you were saying, we created these characters, in D&D, and we felt the thrill. And I'm talking like a real thrill, like fucking hair standing up on the back of your neck, creating that character, watching it do something, feeling the thrill or the excitement or the devastation of getting killed and thrown out of the fucking game. And you come out on the other side different. You have some different skills. You've been through something. It might have been a game, but you had this sort of like heroic circuit of creativity and belief, and you were there with other people, and it was, okay, so roundabout way of saying this, the character kind of has to come first. It's like, who are you embodying? You look at the character sheet and you kind of look at yourself in this whole new way as a collection of memories and a collection of influences of famous people, of cartoon characters, of TV shows, of books, maybe of sacred symbols, maybe of secret religions, maybe of secret teachings, maybe things you've collected, maybe just your grandmother's wisdom and a whole host of other magics and skills. And you look at all that. You finally look at that. Like maybe I would say that maybe 99.9% of the people have never like diagrammed out their magical character as they see themselves. And some people say, well, I don't have a magical character. I'm all this. And I say, well, that's your magic. The fact is that you're a nihilist and you believe in nothing, and you're going to go around and you're going to be right about it. And you're going to be that one who reminds us that maybe everything is nothing. And you're a superhero now because you're actually doing the great work of the universe, embodying that archetype. And so actually you're not a nihilist. You're being a superhero nihilist, and so that's actually something. So you can't really believe in nothing. Yeah, anyway, I love refuting that, because I've had people come to me and like pay me for avatarism coaching, help them change their character, executives and normal people, actors, and a couple people have come to me and say, okay, nothing means nothing. It's all meaningless. Now build a character for me. And I said, you've already got it. You're already winning. You've won me over. Everything's meaningless. And to be honest, they leave happy, and I'm so happy about that. So here's the deal: is like you want to create a character that is magnetic, that speaks to people, that people like remember you, and it's your fault if they don't remember you, right? It's your fault. So we've got to create a character that is engaging, not overbearing. It has something to say, that has a gift ingrained into it. So when you look at all of your influences on the character sheet, I think what you're going to find is you're going to find some sort of directive. It may come in a minute, it may come in a week, but look at this character sheet. Look at your design that you've been working on for yourself over your whole life, and you're going to see some expertise. For you guys, it may be we're performers and we just wanted to figure out a way to talk about the things that we like and interact with people and be social. And you guys learned how to do it in a really spectacular way, and other people will learn from that. And some people will just be fans of yours, and other people will get inspired by you. And that's the whole purpose of avatarism, is this ancient thing. Now, avatara or avatar is an ancient word from the Hindu culture. And it means gods inhabiting human bodies, or it means humans acting like gods, or humans that have godlike qualities. Any one of those fits. And so, and I don't mean that you are going to become God, capital G-O-D. It means you're just going to feel more like that feeling that you left the movie feeling when you were a kid and you thought it might be possible, and you want to get that back. And there's 100 ways to get it back, but I think this is one of the healthiest.
almost more like resonating with your higher self or something. I mean, you could almost think of it in spiritual terms like that, like embodying your higher self or your soul, like your soul's purpose, that kind of thing, putting that into some sort of action. But how do you figure it out though? Like, what if you're trying to figure this out? Like, it's a bit overwhelming. You're like, I don't know what I'm interested in. I'm interested in all these things, or I want to be all these things. Like, how is there like a meditation or some sort of like tool you can use to get in there, to get inside? Because it's a bit hard to even figure that out, I think.
Yeah, I think you should just look for what excites you. And like I said, there's those two things, is like what excites you and makes you interested, but what also makes you a little bit trepidatious. And this is stuff about your character, thinking about what you might want to be. There's a great story about my friend Dan, Burning Dan. You can Google his name. He was a great fire spinner and brother to actor Joseph Gordon-Levitt. And Dan was one of my best friends, and he was a computer programmer and did some great work for his brother, designing a website called hitrecord.org, collaborative art website. Very big success, wonderful thing. And Dan was very much a nerd and a code jockey and a computer gamer and a gamer and was very sort of normie. And one day he went to a vintage store with two girls, which is, fun. And they said, Dan, you should try on this pink and green zoot suit. And he went, hell no, I would never do that. And then they all left, and then he went back after they were gone. And then he tried it on, and he looked at it, and he bought it. And then he spent the next few months, I guess, or a year going to parties in this pink and green striped zoot suit, and people started calling him Watermelon Dan. And he realized that if he had a character, that his whole life as a sort of introvert, as a little bit of a nerdy person who maybe has trouble in social situations, all of that became easier. Not perfect, but so much easier, so much so that he got addicted to it. And he said, wow, this is peacocking. This is showing up as a gift. And now it might be that you're sort of hiding in an outfit, and maybe that's the watchword. Like if you go to a party and you have the American flag t-shirt, American flag pants, and it's, not ironic, you're just being a flag, not much to talk about there. But maybe not so. Maybe you're very patriotic, and maybe that's your avatarism. I don't want to knock anybody. Go be a flag, man.
Or maybe you're kneeling.
Yeah. Right. And so this is, so when you go out to festivals and you want to figure out like what your character is, and you think maybe it's going to be hard because you just don't know. Sure. Maybe you should meditate. Maybe you should quiet your mind and ask it in the sweetest possible way, kind of like a grandfather or a sweet elder, or like maybe somebody talking to their dog that they really like, good boy, just tell me what you want to do, make it really easy for yourself. And if it's ridiculous, like some of my shit was ridiculous, dude. It's like, I wanted to be an action figure, and I was working at a toy design studio trying to get my avatarism done so I could, make myself into an action figure, because I love toys and collecting toys, and I love that stuff. So I became a toy designer, became a toy maker for like 5 years. And it was all with this crazy kind of quasi psychedelic wish that I was going to be able to design myself as an action figure. And I was almost there when my good friend Jason Marsden, who's an amazing actor from Miyazaki film Spirited Away and tons of TV shows, he comes and visits me in my little toy shop, and he says, you got to get back into acting, man. What are you doing here? Toy shop with all the plastic dust. What are you doing? And I said, and this was a few years before I had come up with avatarism, and then I realized it was a thing that had already been around. And I said, I'm making myself into an action figure. And he says, you can do that a lot faster when you go back to being an actor. And I was like, wow, that's a great idea. Yeah, I think you're right. And so I went back, and within about 2.5 years, after being on the Starship Troopers Roughneck Chronicles as the narrator and one of the main characters, and then getting Teen Titans and Ben 10, I was finally an action figure, and then I got an amazing action figure from Transformers Animated. So I got to do it faster, because I sort of went with the more dangerous thing. And to be honest, I was scared to get back into acting for a moment. It's a lot of rejection, and I'm an artist in 10, 20 different ways. And so I'm happy if I'm working with my hands, happy if I'm making music. I just got a song right now that's getting released by Axtone Records. It's like DJ Axwell, this big time DJ's label. So like, I do things pretty well. I don't want to brag, but like I do art well. I don't do math well. I don't do clean the house very well. And my dog literally has to remind me to feed him every night. So like I'm not good at everything, but those things I can say I'm good at, and I owe a lot of that to Avatarism, because I believed in this one thing, that if you can get close to the things that you love, if you can get close to your heroes, if you can get close to the feeling of being like your heroes and not fanboy and fangirl for your whole life, and really get close to them. It's called Darchon. It's an ancient word. It's that thing when you wanted a guru and you found him and then you didn't talk. You just sat on a hillside laughing, and then you went home and you're like, I spent $3,000 going to India. I laughed with some old fat guy on a hill. Then I came home. We didn't even say anything, but I feel great. And you're like, that story is all over the place in all these ancient books. Like Darchon is this wordless up level that you get from people, but you only get it from people who are better than you at something or have something to give. And that's why it's so important not to surround yourself with D-bags.
Wow, that's well said. Wow, yeah. Geez, I mean, I was thinking there must be a risk at escapism, like not, like you said, not becoming a fanboy or whatever, but not taking it too, you must have to sort of have that balance. Yeah.
You can go too far into script.
And like, what's the, is there a parallel there? I mean, obviously there's a parallel, but what's the difference between that and the current fad of like cosplay? Not that it's a fad, I shouldn't even call it that, sorry, but the whole cosplay phenomenon right now. Like, you must have seen this all grow through your Avatarism, like when you're looking into Avatarism and then having that whole culture just explode around you must be pretty weird.
Yeah, it's amazing. I love it, and I want to be a part of it. And I also know that it's mostly a consumerist thing, and the kids are being I wouldn't say pushed, but it's a natural sort of instinct of the group to create cosplays that everyone knows from recognized products that are consumer products. And when I try to get in there, I try to be this sort of virus in the system that goes, okay, mutate, and we're not going to make fun of kids who we can't tell what costume they are. Ultimately, I think it might be a different group. Like cosplayers everything is a subset of Avatarism. I haven't found one group on the earth that isn't a subset of Avatarism, that isn't some sort of conspiracy on the layperson. And once you get inside the Golden Gate, you go, oh, I just have to put on the ring and say the thing, and that's it. And they're like, oh, shush. And they're like, yeah, okay, great, wonderful. What else can you uncover that's like that? Everything is like that. Once you learn the planetary brain is alive in the form of the internet, they can't really hide this stuff from us. But people are still getting stupid because they get swept up in evangelistic, too simplistic, sick and twisted linguistic shit that gets thrown at them, and they're not creating anything for themselves. So when you ask me, when you said, they get caught up in it, but they're going to get caught up in their own thing. They're going to get caught up in the thing that they've created, hopefully. And it's and one of the creators of Avatarism, who's an amazing psychedelic writer, her name's Jessica Simon T. Ferry, writes for arrowid.org. She came up with the thing, it's a feature of the game of Avatarism, not a bug, that you can put the character down whenever you want and go back to being your home character, especially when your boss is getting your face going, where are the forms of C329-6 that he promised me by 5? And you're not going to be like, don't talk to me like that, I'm a superhero. No, you're never going to do that because you're not insane. Avatarism doesn't make people insane, just like movies don't make people insane, and they say violent video games don't make people insane. The thing is that I've noticed that some mainstream and or dominator religions, who will remain nameless, make people insane enough to go kill people. So let's just look at this. Have the fairies ever incited wars?
Yeah.
Have hobbits, Jedis, or even orcs superheroes? I mean, it's a clean slate. I feel like cosplay is this great entry-level avatarism, and people get into it, and they feel that, to quote, The Wall, that warm thrill of confusion, that space cadet glow when they get inside the suit. And they're like, wow, what is this? I'm powerful, and guys are taking pictures of me, and this is wonderful, and people and girls are talking to me, and this is wonderful. And you know what? If it makes people more loving and social, and it makes people want to be connected, my fucking God, we need more of that right now. We need to educate our brothers and sisters how to up-level their morality, up-level their spirituality in their own way. I just don't want to tell people what to do, and I'm really turned on by the idea of self-created spirituality within like a fantastical, fun, not serious framework, so it doesn't get anyone all bent out of shape. You can't embody that. Why are you wearing that belt that way? It's like that trim isn't. I saw that movie, Cowboy Bebop. That's totally wrong. And you're like, okay, well, that's kind of the cosplay mentality. So I want avatarism, and my ultimate joy would be to do these kind of workshops at cons and comic cons and festivals. I've already been doing them at music festivals where it's all accepted. Like the kids are in their rainbow, sparkle, feather, space cowboy outfit, and they're embodying something. And I keep coming back to this thing, like, if you figure out some stuff about your character and you figure out like what your character wants to do or what its gift to the world is, that will become a communication. And funny story. So go back to Burning Dan. Like he had this jumpsuit at Burning Man that was a tiger stripe, orange jumpsuit with a bomb on the front. And so you look at it and you'd be like, what, tiger bomb? And you go, yes, would you like some? And he would step forward and he would put tiger balm on people's nipples, everybody's nipples. And then he would force them to like all join hands or put their arms around each other's shoulders in a circle. And they would all wait till their nipples started burning like a mother sucker. And they would all look at each other and have this kind of wild experience. So I looked at Dan, I was like, what the hell? You created a character that had a name that people could like, wait a minute, what is this? That would create a conversation that led to a gift, that led to a group experience, which kind of made you allowed to touch people's nipples. And that must have been fun. And he just smiled at me. He's like, yes, And so that on a weird sort of awesome, strange scale is the recipe for your alchemy of your character. Your character has something that it wants to do. You want to have an interaction with people. You want to interact with people. And that, that book, the not The Secret, but the game that tried to get guys to hit on girls in this really specific way, right? That shit doesn't work. It doesn't work at all. And because it's tricks and tricks people learn tricks and then they don't work eventually because everybody learns your shit. The thing about avatarism is, it transforms the way you speak about your actual self into something that is more fun for you. And that lights you up and brings the sort of people that should be around you closer to you because you're not afraid anymore because you have a way of speaking about yourself that's not boring, that you've seen people accept. And I think that's a huge part of why a lot of us who are like me, introverted extroverts, kind of shy but push through anyway with a lot of tricks, it's because we learn these tricks.
Yeah. That totally reminds me of the whole spiritual part about when you're on your path and you're following your light and you're being of service, or when you're following sort of your path, that you are like this light and that you are this energy that's, I don't want to sound woo or anything, but you're vibrating at a different frequency and it's resonating with people.
Or fake it till you make it.
I'm playing the woo bells right over here. I love fake it till you make it. I love that. That's like, I think that's the story of most actors' lives. And like you said, we get actors at the top of their game get paid so much money to approximate this sort of fake reality. And when we step back and we realize that we're worshiping them for that, for being really good liars, like assassins for truth, and a specific experience, we go, if we could in our lives have even a 5% of that, we could create joy for others. We could like move ourselves from moments of pain and insecurity into moments of, maybe less, because something real actually does happen for actors. There's a lot of crazy actors, but there's a lot of crazy people. I survived TV shows and movies. I'm not that crazy. I seem to have a pretty good beat on life.
But you sort of you transformed, didn't you? I mean, you were pretty successful when you were younger, and didn't you have sort of a transformational experience from that world to more of a spiritual type?
I did. Yeah, I did. I had a couple of them. I mean, the one interesting thing about my avatarism is that, and then maybe a lot of people would resonate, is that, some of us have had sort of spiritual experiences our whole lives that we can't explain. Not at all. Mm-hmm. And we had no way of talking about them, let's say when we were 3 or 5 or 7. And, and so if you're, some people maybe just forget them and discount them, or they don't, but my parents sort of gave me this great gift. They said that I could be any religion I wanted, out of every religion in the whole world, or something completely new. And it was part of the adventure of my life to go and figure out what my connection to spirit was. And they said it would be cool as long as I found something. And I went through everything, even some crazy shit that scared them. They should throw away this book. What is this book? Satanic stuff. And I'm like, I just want to know about it. I want to know about everything. He says, Mom, hey, I don't really believe in the positive aspect of that story. Why would I care about the negative aspect of that story? Like, I just want to know what exists. And so I went and got out of the trash at midnight, and didn't kill any babies or do anything. It's dumb. Okay, so it's just a book. So, I was allowed to really experiment with all that stuff, and maybe having the spiritual experience as a kid, and having experiences with spirits and with precognition and psychic phenomenon. And I've also, I've seen it. I've had evidence, very clear evidence that there is more to this world. Yeah. And I can't say what that is exactly. And maybe we're not meant to know, but it's so much fun just to leave it open and not to frame it so hard with someone else's ideas. That's the whole exciting thing about being alive in this day and age, when you're not going to get burned at the stake for thinking that maybe nature is alive and maybe the world birthed us and we're just a part of it, actually, and this universe is a creator of beings, and that's it. And there is no great creator. It's just everything all the time. And like, who cares? And I love being able to say that stuff and not get burned as a witch or whatever. So there's a perfect time for avatarism, because so many people are still scared that they're going to come and get them, if they speak out and say that they're a natural based religion, or if they believe in psychic phenomenon, or they're a, conspiracy theorist. I believe that conspiracy theorists, it's a type of spirituality. It's a type of religion. They're deeply concerned and maybe deeply disturbed, but it's their thing. Some of us need to be turned on by sort of negative energy all the time. It's not the most healthy thing, but hell, it's an ethos. It's I appreciate all kinds of interesting information. I just generally want to absorb it all and make the good stuff part of my character and keep going. Yeah,
sometimes, it could just be asking questions. A conspiracy theorist might be just wanting to ask questions and not having maybe not having the answers all the time. That's kind of the way we are here, is like, I know there's something else going on and I don't know what it is, and I don't really care. I don't really care. I don't mind leaving it open, like you said. But we do live in a schizophrenic society where materialism and our culture is sort of forced to not accept any of this, otherness that's going on. And yet everybody, or not everybody, but lots of people or people they love have had these awakenings or experiences. And we talk about that a lot on the show. It's like the church of personal experience. And it's changing. And we are, maybe that we are in this time where the culture of materialism is it just can't withstand any longer. There's just too much evidence and there's too much personal experiences going on that I feel like even in the last few years, maybe we're focused on it on the show, but I really feel like it is changing. So, but can you talk about a couple of those experiences that you had?
Sure. What are you interested in?
Oh, geez. Anything ghosts and aliens or anything like that?
Yeah. Well,
aliens.
Aliens. Okay, well, it's interesting. Like, one of the coolest experience I had just in the alien culture is at a place in the high desert of California called Landers, California. Landers, as in landing, and they built a sort of a landing site for UFOs or for aliens called the Integratron. Have you ever heard of the Integratron?
I have. I've been wanting to go there. That's one on my list. Like really like important list of stuff to do. Darren's writing notes right now. Yeah, isn't that a place where the sound, like they play sounds and music, and it's very acoustic.
Yeah, it's like being on the inside of a huge Stradivarius violin. The whole place, there's no metal. It was all put together with pegs and dowels, and the entire thing. So it's almost like, I think, 3 or 4 very round boat hulls that are all put together, and at the top they're pressure fitted together with a 2-ton ring of solid poured concrete that was fit over the top of it. So, and then there's a hole out to the sky. So the entire thing resonates up to this huge stone and then throws the sound skyward. And the people on the inside, no matter where you are, if you speak or make a noise, everyone can hear it. And if you stand in the middle, so I got invited to spend the night inside the Integratron where we toned for hours.
No way.
Singing bowl, crystal singing bowl orchestra of about 60 singing bowls and gongs. And then the coolest thing was when it was all over, I stood in the middle, and I've been sort of leading meditations the last 2 years at a meditation and New Age church in Venice Beach called Full Circle Venice. And I've been doing kirtan, and so I sort of toned and sang and made noises. And the crazy thing about this structure is the sound that you make rotates around and goes right back up into your ear. And so if you're a musician or a singer, you can hear yourself better than you've ever heard yourself in your whole life, even with headphones. And so you find yourself singing more purely and beautifully in that space than anywhere else. It's remarkable. I highly recommend it for any of your audience, for any of your listeners, to go to the Integratron and do a sound healing, or if they have a special event, stay the night. It's unbelievable. I converged there with about 70 healers from all over the country, and it was intense. There was an intense amount of healing. There was an intense amount of spiritual ego, intense amount of meeting of the minds, and anytime you can be in a focused healing. And it was led by a Native American named Bavado Rainbow Thunderheart, who is famous for healing the ley lines and the electrical ley lines inside the earth, and doing ceremony and laying down rocks and crystals, hundreds of them, and doing these amazing medicine wheels out and healing these parts of the earth with various groups of people. I mean, it was really a wonderful thing that he was doing for years until his death last year.
Wow.
We should build one of those things as a studio.
Yeah, that'd be fun.
That's what I'm trying to do. I'm serious. I'm trying right now to raise funds and begin to do plans to have Integratron Hollywood. I want to have a resonant dome in Hollywood, possibly on top of my house here, so that we can do this thing. But you guys make your Integratron Canada, and I'll come up and visit you. It sounds like a great idea.
Oh yeah, that's amazing. So I mean, I
can see what it's like when you do it when it's fucking 40 below.
Oh, Jesus, it does something to the sound, crystallizes the sound. You can shoot.
Oh, then you could have like sound
weapons,
sound fucking icicles. When they as they melt, the sound comes out, so you could actually podcast into the icicle. And then you take it home, throw it on your counter. As it melts, you hear Graham's bullshit.
That's like programming crystals. So did you guys have anybody have any experiences there? I mean, I've used a singing bowl out in the stargazing before to try and make contact, and I was just in a healing circle with only about 7 or 8 of us with a bunch of singing bowls and stuff, and that was amazing. I can imagine with like 60 or 70 people in there.
I heard that other people saw something that night. I was kind of under the weather and just really focused on having more of an energetic healing for myself, so I didn't really experience that. But I was going to tell you that a lot of people do, and Landers, California, I think is the place to see that kind of phenomenon. No, I saw alien phenomenon in Ashland, Oregon, where a lot of people see alien phenomenon. So I was I was fortunate enough to be in a really amazing jacuzzi with a beautiful woman, and we were wearing night vision goggles. Oh, nice. Not to look at each other, but we were specifically looking at the sky on the recommendation of my then boss, Jay Widener.
Oh yeah, okay.
Who's a noted historian and conspiracy theorist of all sorts, and also runs Gaiam TV, is the program director of Gaiam TV.
Yeah, he's been working with Jay Dyer, I think, recently to put something together, eh?
Yeah, man. Jay hasn't asked me to be on any of his shows yet because I went through an amazing experience with him and made a crazy film with him called The Last Avatar, which you can rent on Gaiam, their membership site, Gaiam TV.
Okay,
I think.
Cool.
But I was in Jay Widener's jacuzzi looking up at the sky with these night vision goggles, not 15, 20 minutes. I saw a clear, bright object come straight from left to right and stop right in front of me. And I took off the goggles and I could not see it.
Wow.
Put on the goggles and it was there, just there. I even wiped the front of the goggles to make sure it wasn't a bug that had landed on me. And then it moved 45 degrees, and then moved another 45 degrees, another 45 degrees, and then another 45 degrees, and something like that, and then sped off.
Wow.
And it did this crazy, like, geometric little movement, very fast, and then shot off in another direction. And I was like, holy shit, that's amazing. And then, with the naked eye, a couple weeks, maybe a month later, out in the middle of Oregon, maybe near, it was rural Oregon. I'm not sure. Maybe it was Bend or outside of Jackson. I'm really not quite sure, but we were at a farm, like at a place where they make bread and they grow food, and it was like a cooperative farm. And me and my lady were sitting on top of a warm engine of a car and staring up into the sky, enjoying some cider. Not too much that we would be seeing things. And now I've seen satellites. I know what they do. They come at a slow and steady pace. They're very light. It can be kind of a bright little point, but they move steadily. There they are. That's a satellite. This thing came straight out of the horizon, very fast. Was very bright, maybe 5 times brighter than what I would experience with seeing a satellite on a very clear night. Yeah. And it stopped right on above us for a moment, and then it sped off, going that same trajectory that it had come in. And so, went straight across the sky, but paused right above us. It was unbelievable. And I remember looking at my lady, and I was like, "80, what did I just see that?" And she goes, "Motherfucker, you just saw that. Don't start doubting it already." Right? And because she had seen stuff like that for years and years and years, because she's from Montana and had moved to Oregon. So those were the two experiences that I had. And I thought I saw a UFO in 1984 when I was a kid, but it might have just been I got scared because I think they had a fake UFO in the Olympic ceremony.
Yeah, that's interesting.
They had a fake UFO in the Olympic ceremony?
Yeah, like it was either I remember as a kid in 84, because I was in LA when they were having the Olympics. And I remember it was like, it must have been like E.T. and like they did like a thing where E.T. like came over the Coliseum or something. I might be totally crazy, but I thought I remembered seeing some sort of alien thing in the either the opening or the closing ceremonies of the 84 Olympics. And then as a kid, I could swear I ran outside because I was so excited that the aliens were landing and I wanted to see them. And I went outside and I thought as a kid that I saw this ship, but I can't be sure. I might have just been really excited from seeing it on TV. But that's crazy. I want to know how many kids who got fooled by that. And if it actually wasn't a UFO in the 84 closing or opening ceremonies, then that's weird. Then I have a fake memory.
Was it the Goodyear blimp?
It might have been. No, because I knew what the damn blimp looked like.
I'm looking at some pictures on YouTube, or not on YouTube, sorry. I Googled 1984 Olympics UFO, but nothing's coming up.
No way.
So maybe you are fucking crazy.
Okay, that's the weirdest thing. Okay, that's really weird.
Oh, wait. Apparently there was a real UFO at the 84 Olympics.
What?
Wow.
What?
Here we got here. Conspiracy theorists believe that the closing ceremony from the 1984 Olympic Games prepared the world for an alien invasion. Oh, wait, one sec.
Yeah.
Oh, no, there was a UFO in the closing ceremonies. Yeah.
Okay, so I ran outside to go see the UFO, and I was just like, I believed it 100%. And I almost thought that either I saw the UFO leaving, or it might just be a memory from the actual closing ceremonies. But that was pretty amazing. I love UFO movies. I mean, I love a Communion. I love Close Encounters.
Contact, yeah.
I love Contact. I'm like am I one of the only people that likes Communion? I just love that film.
It wasn't E.T. though. It was just some fucking alien looking dude.
But that's the thing about these lights in the sky too. Like, people just poo-poo lights in the sky, but what you saw and what many people see, it's not just an airplane or a helicopter, or it's a natural phenomenon. Like, it's something intelligently controlled, and it shouldn't be doing what it does, and you can tell the difference.
All right. You can.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's basically my alien experience. I have, if you guys want to hear about precognition, psychic stuff, that's a pretty interesting story. I was a teenager, and I think I was 15, 16. I was 16 years old, and I was with my first girlfriend in her house in Pasadena one night, and she's she right before we were going to bed, both slept downstairs in their guest room. She's going up to her room, and she said, Alex, I think something bad's going to happen. And I said, oh yeah? What bad is going to happen? What thing? She goes, well,
you're in, bro.
Right. Right. No. Well, the thing is that she was born again, and I always respect people's, rituals and religion. And so her parents were like, please don't deflower our daughter. And even though I wanted,
craziest ones too. Yeah.
Right. They did the laying on of hands.
How do you know?
There's something to every magic has its own, special workings. It's an interesting thing. They did a lot of some of those groups, they do the laying on of hands, they do a lot of prayer, and that stuff can be very powerful. But she told me that she was endowed with a power given to her by Jesus Christ. And when she was shown the face of Jack Nicholson as the Joker from the original Batman movie starring Michael Keaton, and she would see this face hovering in her own basement below her house, in her own mind, she'd see this. When she would see that vision, she knew that Jesus was telling her there was going to be an earthquake.
Wow.
I mean, I looked at her and I was like, okay, sounds good. I went to bed, and 4 hours later we had the Northridge earthquake. 4 hours. She predicted it by 4 hours.
I've read stuff before where it's like that people, they have to display it, in their own sort of
manifest in its own way,
because it's in your mind. It's not a physical thing, or it's not, you're doing it. So it's just projecting itself in it has to be something it can't be something new. It's something, or something you expect, or something you.
Yeah. Now let me qualify and say that this girl is like top of her class. She's an amazing person now. She's like a producer of like the Real World for MTV. She's got kids, a husband. She's an amazing person. This was something I think she told me that it doesn't happen anymore. But it astounded me. I mean, it astounded me. It made me really interested in psychic phenomenon, precognition, and the fact that, and more than that, that's like sort of separating it. What I found by listening to lots and lots of Alan Watts, who's a great British, philosopher, is like that we come from this world. We weren't brought to this world. maybe we were seeded, this whole thing was seeded by aliens or by fungus or whatever, but it's very conceivable that aliens are just other creatures that got created by other worlds, and this world gave birth to us. And, Alan Watts used to say, look out where there are rocks. You say, oh, there's nothing but rocks on that planet. He's like, well, look out where there are rocks. There are going to be people, because rocks, they support fungal life, and fungal life creates multi-celled life, and multi-celled life creates, many-celled life. And here we are. And so from that, you gotta think we've got connections to this mother planet that we don't understand. Dogs have knowledge they're born with, their genetic knowledge. We have genetic knowledge. We can't possibly. I mean, they're doing all kinds of studies that say that, if your grandparents, your great grandparents went through a famine, that not their kids, but their grandkids are going to be the ones who benefit from the genetic difference in code, and they'll be more resilient to surviving famine. I mean, that shit is very interesting. I mean, that's almost like, it's like, where does genetics and psychic ability kind of intersect? Because it seems like messages and connections to the earth and to each other are just inherent.
That's because it's all ones and zeros, man.
Yeah, the singularity is coming. I don't know if we should be scared of it. It's just like, we're going to create it, and we're going to be able to see and feel and be more. It's going to be weird and scary. I mean, in some ways, I wish we could all just go back to how the Native Americans lived for a little while. But without the diseases and shitting outdoors all the time.
Shitting outdoors ain't bad.
No, it isn't. I know it isn't. I was just at the Rainbow Gathering up in Oregon, and I shit outdoors, and it was very awesome. Feeling the wind on your ass hairs is quite nice.
I was just in Oregon too, man. I love it in Oregon.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
Don't
anybody go there though. Leave them alone.
Yeah, don't go to Oregon.
It's great how it is.
Yeah, Oregon's terrible. Don't go to Oregon. It sucks.
It smells. Yeah, it smells like patchouli. Gross.
And shit. Yeah.
Oh, it's horrible.
Yeah, no, but I mean, maybe the closest singularity is really just us looking. Like, it's like you always
singularity
say.
Is not coming.
Darren, it's like what you always say about no. You can think about it as the simulated universe type thing, or the digital universe. So as we look deeper and deeper into our reality, it becomes digital, like the simulation.
Yeah, you know what I was thinking the other day when my phone froze up? Maybe if we go fucking too deep, it all fucking freezes. And that's it. Maybe we're on the edge because I can't handle any more data.
Process it anymore.
We open too many trees and we look too small, so it's got to keep making all this data, and it's just running out of space. And that's why all this crazy shit's everything's starting to break down.
Glitches in the matrix, kind of.
Yeah, so it's all glitching out because it's going to freeze soon.
It's going to get smaller and smaller and smaller. All of us.
Shit you say when you're stoned.
Let's get small.
Speaking of that, I mean, has psychedelics been a part of your growth?
My dad was a Haight-Ashbury hippie.
Oh, I wanted to ask you about that.
Hung out with the Merry Pranksters in the 60s and
wow.
Basically got arrested for protesting the war and tried everything. So my bedtime stories were, from him at least, were about his acting and about his experiences in the 60s and psychedelics. And so I had a really good psychedelic education really young. My dad wanted me to know the benefit of his experience and the scary stuff, the interesting stuff. And so I guess how I describe myself is sort of like a second generation psychedelic person. And I was given education about it. The way I chose to interact with sacrament is in a sort of ritualistic way. There's specific ways I interact with it. There's reasons. There's things I want to understand and learn through the experience. I generally don't do sacrament all the time. It's not an everyday thing. It's not an every week thing. It's maybe not even an every day, month or year thing. It could be every few years for an experience if I haven't made something out of that experience, or if it doesn't seem like, so many people use substances as an escape and then find years later after they've escaped that they don't have the skills that other people have. Like they've sort of traded in some of their mana, their power for these experiences, and those experiences are, could have been, they're very limited. If you do repeat the same thing over and over, you're going to get basically the same lesson. Yeah. So that's not how I like to interact, and that's why I look at substances as sacrament, and I encourage everybody to sort of look at that in that way too. Alter the way you think, because your body is a temple, your mind is delicate. Until I didn't experiment until I was 23, and at 21, I think it's recognized your brain's done forming, and we have so many kids going into psychedelic culture and doing massive amounts of entheogens and before their brains are done forming. And I generally listen, if you're under 18, if you've ever had mental problems, if you haven't had a good life, and you have some anger issues, if you're unstable, these things aren't for you. Mm-hmm. They're not gonna be good for you. And certainly if you don't have any information on it and you're not being led in a certain way, they're doing all kinds of studies right now with psilocybin. Have you guys been following those? With
a little bit, yeah.
And the end of life experience. So when people know that they're going to die from a terrible disease or something, they have all these anxieties, like they don't know what's going to happen. They don't know where they're going, what death is going to be like. And they're experimenting with giving them a moderate dose and a guided sort of tour with psilocybin and music, or some sort of guided meditation. And it's having an amazing effect. You can see all kinds of research on YouTube if you look for it, psilocybin end of life. And I think that's really important, because if you haven't, 30% of millennials or kids right now, young people, don't have any philosophical or religious affiliation. And so that's that's fine. It's their thing. But if they get to the end of their life and they're like, fuck, I never prepared, I don't know what spirit is, I have no framework for this, then substances like entheogens, sacraments like psilocybin mushrooms, used in a very controlled way, give people a spiritual experience that prepares them for the mystery. And I've seen it, and there's no other way to explain it. It's hard to explain. It's like explaining art, but you'd have to experience it. You have to look into it for yourself and see what people are saying. It's not the scary thing that people say it is. It's not the joke that people say it is. It's actually a doorway to another type of consciousness, possibly another type of world. I mean, when you use psilocybin in a forest setting, there is no question that fairies exist. Fairies exist. So you want to put yourself in a religious situation, or a spiritual situation with this drug, just be careful where you are, who you're with, and what you're programming, because the stuff that you do when you are altered goes into your deep memory, and it could, stay with you for a very long time, for better or for worse. And so the bad trip is just all about, like Leary said, it's set and setting. You got to control things if you're going to reprogram your mind. And I'd like everybody to think about some of these things, even like psychic phenomenon or aliens, it's that stuff reprograms your mind, because the society doesn't want us to think about these things. And so we become altered by these experiences, and you want to be easy on yourself. Don't do too much conspiracy theory. You're going to get tweaked. Take it easy. Don't do too much avatarism. Don't change yourself too much so that you lose sight of all the things that you were too fast. And so everybody's different, but entheogens, definitely caution, interest, fun, examine, experience, learn, but caution. And
I think that balance is important. And I think that's what's missing in our society, is in our education as kids, even not religious and not, anything dogmatic, but just that sort of balanced look at spirit and spirituality. And, the people that I meet that are spiritual are usually pretty aware of their defects, and they're very grounded in that way, which you wouldn't expect, but there's an accountability there, it seems, and an awareness around their behaviors and how they affect people. And I don't know, I wish we had learned that, even just basic mindfulness in school, like some basic, watching your breath, watching your mind, just some basic tools as kids and in our culture. Right. I mean, maybe it's happening now, but
yeah, it's happening a little bit. I think kids are learning. I try to talk about meditation on my Twitter account. I got a bunch of fans of my different projects that maybe find me because of Charles in Charge. That was on that show when I was a kid in the 80s, or maybe they find me because of cartoons, but then I'm kind of open with how I live my life. And so I'll say, I meditated today, or I'm spending the day not speaking. I'm going to write things, but I'm not going to speak all day to give myself, a little bit of a break from communicating and see what that does to my brain. And it's not in a dogmatic, you will do this and this is the effect it will have. And, I'm your guru now. And it's no, I basically just want to entertain people. And I think we all should be sharing, all of us should be sharing our workable technology. That's how we that's if we want to gamify our lives, what the fuck? Why are we dealing in platitudes all the time with the people that we're around? Do you know the cheat codes that your friends know about how they do their life? Have you spoken with them? Have you asked them how they're doing that shit, that magic shit that you don't know how to do? That's Darchon. That's being with your friends, learning a little bit. I learned from Dan, once I was like, hey, let's hang out. And he goes, I don't hang out with my friends. And I go, that sucks. That just made me feel horrible. And he goes, no. I like to do projects with my friends. Would you like to do a project with me? And I was like, yeah, I want to talk about the band and go miniature golfing. And he's like, okay, well, that sounds great. That's a meeting and that's an activity. I can do that. And basically, I just wanted to hang out with him. But if you transform your relationships into projects, even small ones, something, you do something, then you end up learning more about the person and you get something done and it's exciting and all your deep memory circuits get, lit up. You got dopamine, you got your adrenaline, you got your oxytocin, the trust hormone gets activated, all that great stuff. We want to make our own body drugs by having a great life. So we don't have to do these gross drugs like over alcoholing ourselves or over marijuana-ing ourselves or stimulants or even just, too much binge watching of crap. It's there's people out in the world that can make your life better and you're not interacting with them. And there's a reason. It's maybe you just, you got nothing to say. Doing a project is a great way to have something to focus on. So you don't have to be so, you know what I mean?
Oh, totally. Yeah, that's good. Meaningful, interactions and stuff. A little bit deeper than just, watching the game, and talking about nothing. I mean,
hot today.
Yeah, how's the weather today? Yeah. I love how you're looking at all this. When did you get so curious? I love how you're looking at all this genetic memory stuff. And I mean, it reminds me of I've been interested in all this sort of the next level of health and wellness and biohacking. I mean, I heard about this human garage going on in LA and they're doing amazing leading edge work with healing and they're using spiritual energy work with scientific work on fascia and chiropractic stuff, all this science versus or meet spirituality in the healing environment with all these doctors and athletes and scientists. I mean, there's so much to be interested in now.
Human garage. That sounds. No, I haven't heard of that. That sounds amazing. But I want to go submit myself to as many experiments as they offer.
Do it, man. They're just ramping up. I mean, and they're talking about this genetic memory, like the stuff you're mentioning about, the famine and getting some traits from your second generation back, your third generation back that help you or hinder you. I mean, there's so many things we don't know about why we are.
You want to hear the most intense one that I just heard? And you're going to have to check this. But the most intense one I just heard, and ladies, they'll just have kind of take a pause for a moment. But basically all the partners you've ever been with as a woman, if you've ever been with someone and had sex unprotected and gone to full fruition with the dance of love, basically you are then coded with a small amount or an amount of that person's DNA, and the child that you'll have years later will still have some of the genetic material from that first douchebag that you fucked. Don't fuck that first douchebag.
Yeah.
It's so interesting. And because you always heard the wives' tales of, honey, don't do that or don't do this or be careful with that. And you're like, oh, whatever, I'm just having fun. And you're like, oh no, there's something dogmatic about how you're telling me to behave. I could do whatever I want. And you're like, well, wait a minute, I don't really want you to associate with that. No, it's fine, I'll be fine. And you're like, wow, you're going to carry a piece of that person's genetic material in your offspring.
Yeah. And there's also a risk of not being protected all the time, because you're sacrificing some sort of healing potential as well if you don't ever get the semen, you know?
Right. And
I can't remember the science behind that, but there's something pretty serious about
wait. Rewind. Take that from the top.
That's the alchemical. He's speaking of the alchemical elixir, the ultimate.
Yes,
alchemical
exactly.
elixir.
And if a woman doesn't get to experience that at all, there's a total loss of healing potential there, and you're missing some sort of protein and all kinds of other stuff that.
How do I get my protein?
That's conjecture. You're the giver of the protein, and you get to die first. you die before her. So you give up all your essential minerals so that she can live on and continue the species. It's very altruistic.
So Graham's so much healthier than I am.
What? I don't know what you're talking about. So how did you? I'm just interested in your transformation from this like child famous actor who sort of probably. I mean, I read a little bit about your blogs and stuff like that about falling into a little bit of that trap and consumerism and the whole Hollywood thing, and then your transformation into something a little bit more, spiritual or whatever. That like was there a moment that shifted that, or that you sort of?
Yeah, it was an incredible visionary moment. I mean, it was leading up to things. I mean, I think I had prepared myself by sort of cultivating my own. Personal mythology along the years, and thinking, allowing myself to think that I am the one. Everybody thinks they are the one, and you are, for your thing. And so, but it's very important for us to allow ourselves to think that we are the one. And so I was allowing myself to think that in some various ways. And I had this visionary experience, at an Indian reservation at a party that was supposed to be for thousands, but that got shut off and cut off by the I think the feds, they said, or the Bureau of Indian something or other, and so we were in there, only a few hundred of us, and I had this incredible experience where I lost my ego completely, became just a pair of eyes, and up until that point, for quite a few years, spent my whole sort of prepubescent childhood up to the time I was 16, 17 as an actor on a TV show. Charles in Charge, and every night of the week my show was on, and I really thought that I was this actor guy, and I was important, and I was a great actor, and I had all these things ahead of me, and then I really I had a big ego, and I remember a few people told me that I had been rude to them or had been kind of egotistical, and I felt shame, and in that moment, when I lost my ego completely, it went away. I became just a pair of eyes looking out at the world. And, what I saw was beautiful. It was so beautiful. I mean, there was music, and there were human beings, and they were having a great time. And just, God, thinking about what has just happened in Vegas, it is such a tragedy. And also to have people just taken in when they're enjoying and being happy and allowing themselves to be frivolous and have a good time. So, these kinds of events are so important. And I always like to say that if aliens could have the real awesome technology where they could see if people were happy on the earth, and they could see groups of people and how happy they were, they could kind of check out where they wanted to land, They might land with the Raelians, because they have I've heard underwear parties, and they make landing strips for them. But then I think they send me emails. It's crazy. I've never been to one of their gigs, but hey, if aliens are going to land and they're sweet, they're nice aliens, and they just want to hang out and figure out what's going on, they're going to go to one of these groups, or they're going to see that rock concerts and concerts where beautiful music is being played. Those are the places where people are the happiest. And those are the people where there's the most concentration of joy. So I think there's something in that. There's something in the big art. There's something in the large scale art and the big music and the music and the expression of joy in groups. There's just something to that. Anyway, I went off on a tangent, but what was I at?
You're talking about you're losing your ego at the Indian reservation.
Oh yeah. So I lost my ego. I became a pair of eyes, and when I came to, I think I was inside a bass speaker. With a couple very cute girls, and we were all, I think, making out. And I realized that, I had sort of been living in this really tight existence I had been kind of afraid to be myself, who I felt like I was inside, and the ego was taking over and making me do rude things. And what I really wanted to do is create beautiful things in the world, create art, be a toy designer, create paintings, write things about embodiment of philosophy, like the whole thing that I always knew I wanted to do. I was stopped by doing all that because I didn't want to look uncool. Yeah. And all the people around me weren't doing anything like that. They weren't doing anything like that. And so I would have risked doing everything different, and I had to do everything different. And that's why at the end of that experience, I ended up back in Hollywood at my childhood home, standing in a tree, up in a tree in the morning, kind of coming down from this experience and thinking to myself, everything is going to be okay. I love this tree. I've been in it a million times since I was growing up. And I'm here again in a childlike moment with my eyes wide open going, I'm going to change my life. I'm going to make beautiful things. And that can be performance, and it could be art. It could be writing. It could just, as long as I'm creating something to add to the soup of humanity that's just good, better, make it better. It's my own style. I do it for long enough. I'm going to do it better. Somebody's going to be like, hey, that's unique. I'm going to get an up level. I'm going to get dopamine. I'm going to get adrenaline, good body drugs. I get to create my own happiness. I get to be a joy Jedi. This is how I want to live my life. This is not some kind of pie in the sky. Like, I want to become a better person so I can get into the gates and they'll say in the stone that I did it right. I want to have a great time here. And I want my memories here on this earth to be so awesome that when you download them, in a little while, I'm hoping we can download memories soon, because I think that me and a few other people, maybe you guys, maybe other people that realize that it's all about the experience, the church of experience, the church of fucking experience, like you said. Then when we can download people's memories, we'll be the next YouTube stars. We'll be the memory stars, because we've really done something exciting and weird and interesting. They're going to be I want to live the experiences of the guys who created the Grimerica podcast. Well, I want to live inside there. No,
absolutely do not.
Absolutely not.
No, that's well said though. I love those. I love those awakening
and Graham's bath.
awakening moments.
Live toilet reading.
I mean, how many of our guests have had those amazing awakening moments, and their whole life has shifted, and they've just reached found their path. I mean, it's unbelievable. I love it.
Yeah, I mean, so I keep I get to be a transformational, transmogrificational voyeur, because I get to keep meeting people, and they say to me okay, well, what is this avatarism? And I go, well, it's the you, it's the whatever you that you want to create. It's the oldest you. It's the you that when you thought you were Rainbow Bright and Gilligan or fucking RoboCop and Jesus Christ, whatever you thought you wanted to become. Being whatever you thought you wanted to become, rather, is the thing that you can now design and create your life around more directly than before. And that really makes people excited, makes people happy. They want to live through these characters a little more, but they also want to have their own experience through it, because maybe their home character, the one that they got created. And speaking from experience, I survived some pretty weird things, I had a manager who was a pedophile. I had a babysitter who, was a rapist.
Yeah, me too. Well, it didn't get that far, but
yeah, I got molested and my friend got raped. It's so and some could say that okay, well, people who have been damaged, they just need this fantasy to escape. And you know what I'm going to say is yes. And fuck you for making that wrong, because this world is full of bizarre, weird fantasies, the racist fantasy, the this fantasy, the that fantasy. And the fact that I want to self-create or say that I'm a joy Jedi or a Hobbit Jedi as my archetype for life, because I like to defend and I like to fight and be a poetic warrior, but I also like to garden and I like both ethos, and it's so funny. It's these things are so ingrained in our lives, and I know I have friends that go ghost hunting. Shout out to my friend Kristen, who's I think in Rhode Island, and she goes out ghost hunting on the weekends. She goes to Salem. These things are a spiritual path, just because they're not connected to some recognized thing that you can give money to or say, I am a blankety blank, Avatarism, I really believe, guys, is the oldest philosophy on the planet, or maybe on every planet, because the first thing we do, even before language, is we embody the other creatures that maybe we want to hunt, or we embody the spirits we think are causing the lightning or whatever, and like we just make things up. And so this creating of sort of elevated character is super ingrained, and it's used against us to make our kids want to buy things and make us buy endless collectibles that, you know, we get excited to buy, but then they sit on the shelf for years and we kind of look at them with a slightly tarnished sort of majesty because they don't do anything, guys. Like the 1979 Spider-Man activity belt was a bitter disappointment, gentlemen. It was bitter disappointment. The grappling hook would not grapple. The string would not hold. It had no workable things on it. It was miserable. And I got it for my birthday, and I seriously ran out to the back porch and I tried to be my avatar, and I felt like it was limp as fuck.
That's well said. So did we talk about that movie you were producing before? Maybe we should mention that before we wrap it up.
Yeah, sure.
Because that sounds pretty interesting too. You're into all kinds of shit here.
Yeah, so I got an email from a group that was making a film called Going Further spelled Furthur, Going Further, the movie. And basically these kids, this great group of kids, they were working in, I think, social media, and they got sick of their jobs, and they heard that the son of Ken Kesey, the legendary bus driver, the writer of One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, Academy Award-winning film, and he cashed in all of his money and bought this psychedelic bus. His friends painted it. He was actually working at an insane asylum, and a government project came in called MK Ultra. And they started testing all the people and doing these wild experiments. And he got wrapped up in the experiments. He was an orderly there, and he just became part of the experiment. They started giving him LSD, and he realized that he had a cognition. Crazy people aren't crazy. They're just a different type of person that are pushed out of society because they don't fit. And he had this crazy cognition. And out of that, he wrote One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. And then he got swept up in the LSD / spirituality inducing experience, a whole thing. And he wanted to take this out. And so he grabbed a bunch of his friends. They put on crazy costumes and they drove across the country in this crazy bus, sort of with this psychedelic culture, and embodying it and showing everybody what this new thing was. And they had never seen anything like it. So this film chronicles a little bit of the beginnings of that, but then it was just a few years ago, it was the 50th anniversary. And so the son of Ken Kesey got another bus, painted it. It was actually his father's, was the second bus. So it was actually a real bus. They were on tour with it. So it's the second Further bus. And they created 400 new merry pranksters all across the United States, sort of mimicking some of the tours that the original bus went on. And so Going Further, the movie, you can see the trailer right now, I think on YouTube and Vimeo. And maybe when you guys publish the podcast, I'll give a link to that so people can see it. Right now, they're trying to sell it to Netflix or to Amazon. So if any of you Netflix, Amazon people have an ear to this, we want to sell you this great film about a historical, crazy bus trip that changed the world and changed everybody's minds. And so, the old saying was, are you on the bus? Are you off the bus?
The magic bus?
The magic bus.
Now it's a wagon. It's a little less magical.
Yeah, no, they still have the bus. The bus is really beautiful. You get to really experience the bus is like a character in the film, and you get to see it in 100 different ways. And it's decked out with LEDs now because we got all the technology. Like the old shamans used to say, he's like, if we had the stuff you guys have, hey, we'd use it. Just happens that we only have the drums here in the Amazon, but you guys have the big speakers and the lasers. Hell, if we had that, we'd use it.
Right on. Yeah. Wow. Yeah, I was one of my most incredible spiritual experiences was with a Bose sound system with ancient instruments. So yeah, that's why not pump it through that system. So
I'll put the volume.
After learning about or more about this magic bus and that whole 60s sort of experience there, what do you think of these conspiracy theories about that being more of like a CIA kind of operation and more of a intentional sort of movement, not so much an organic, spiritual movement from the ground up?
Yeah, I think anything's possible. I mean, it is possible that there was something to that. That they, I don't know. I don't really want to say what I don't know. And right now, what I do know is that I feel a very powerful connection to that time period, just like my dad did. And why I feel a connection to it is its feeling of change and possibility. Mm-hmm. And whether or not it doesn't matter. The cat's out of the bag. Yeah. And you can't, and I love Terence McKenna when he says you can't make your magazines and your movies and your media companies without psychedelic people. You think you can, no, you can't. Yeah. So we're ingrained at every level of politics and culture and business now. And in fact, I'm hearing lots of underground reports that people in high level business are starting to experiment microdose. It's all over the place, right?
Totally.
So it's a whole new world. It's out of the bag. It's interesting. Of course, governments try to do things. They try to gain an advantage, but I don't think it quite worked the way they thought it would.
Yeah, that's kind of my thought too. Yeah, I kind of think along those same lines. If it was there, it was sort of like they were following along or taking a look or peeking inside, but not necessarily creating it. Yeah. Yeah.
Well, our forefathers really here are the natives, the indigenous people, the First Nations people. They are our forefathers, and in this land, our forefathers used psychedelic experience, used Vision Quest to understand this land and understand how to live with it, and it gave them a lot of understanding and a lot of gifts. Both the cactus and the mushroom, and so it's good to look into those things, and it's becoming more and more accepted, and I'm really, really very happy about that.
Bingo bango, you're welcome. I'm an Indian.
Darren's a Canadian.
Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, I have a French Canadian ancestry. We're about to get our genetics tested. My mom feels pretty certain we have some native Canadian First Nations in our blood. So,
let me know what tribe. Maybe we're from the same tribe.
If we're from the same tribe, does that mean like I can like we
means you can crash at my pad?
Oh, sweet! That sounds great. All right, cool. Well, yeah, I'll get right on that because I need a place to stay.
Perfect. Well, yeah, it's getting cold fast.
If you are ever in Calgary, make sure you swing by for sure.
Yeah, for sure. Absolutely, guys. Thank you. This has been really, really cool, interesting. And if you ever want to talk again about some other subject, we could. Yeah, I have lots of other stories.
Yeah, man, it's been fantastic. It's been a great conversation. Yeah, and I'm thinking about just doing this, filling out this character sheet. Creating an avatar.
Make yourself a little avatar Grambo.
It's my gift to everybody. I'm working on a book called Alter Yourself, A Guide to Avatarism.
Oh, nice.
And you can check out my old blog at avatarism.org. And then the actual website, which has some blog materials, but has the free PDF. Or you could donate it. You give me a couple bucks if you want to further my work and help me out. That's avatarism.net. And you can also follow me on Twitter at Alex_Polinsky, Polinsky. And I think, is that it?
Yeah, I think so, man. That's awesome.
Yeah. Hey, check out my SoundCloud. I no joke. I'm like about to release a EDM song with legendary DJ Axwell. He just his record label Axton is releasing a song of mine called "Losing My Mind." And it's biographical from when I lost my mind, but I got it back in time to promote the song. I just lost it for a second so I could write the song, and then I got it back.
You just misplaced it.
Can we use that in the show? Is there any way we can use that in the show as bumper music?
It hasn't been released yet, but I would love it if. But I would love it if you guys played one of my other songs from my SoundCloud. and maybe you could just choose one that you liked. And
yes, for sure.
Whatever one you did.
Yes, yeah, we'll do that for sure.
Fucking A.
Right.
Yeah.
Fucking
okay.
B.
Thanks, Alex.
Right on. Take care, buddy.
Soon.
Okay.
Yeah, it was great.
Okay. Bye-bye.